Hi everyone, welcome back to SiGMA TV. My name is Charity. Joining me here today is Mr. Yahaya Maikori. He's a lawyer with strong entrepreneurial background in gaming world. He is skilled in regulatory compliance, advisory services. He has also acted as a legal advisor to the National Lottery Regulatory Commission and other African jurisdictions. Welcome, Mr. Yahaya. Honored to have you here with us today.
Well, hi, Charity. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thanks for coming. Can you please clear this up for our viewers? You have Nigeria that has federal laws, and then we have other 36 states that have sometimes their own laws. So where should an operator go to apply for license?
Okay, thanks, Charity. For us to have some kind of background to this question, we need to look at how this all started. And it starts primarily from the constitutional part of things. Constitutionally, things that are for the federal are on the federal legislative list. Things that both the state governments and the federal government can legislate on are on the concurrent legislative list. But things that are not mentioned on either the concurrent list or on the federal list are in the residual list, which belongs to the 36 state governments as you know it. So based on the Constitution, that is where the law ought to be at. But since then, things have moved on like much faster than that. In 2005, the Senate passed a law, established a national lottery regulatory body. Some courts in Nigeria have said that based on the fact that it is an act of the National Assembly, it is as well valid. So I think the issue here now is really what applies to what and what applies to which situation, depending on what licensee we're talking about. I think in practice, most of the operators and global brands as well have actually operated in Nigeria in spite of this dichotomy. The real issue here is this. When it comes to retail, I think it is settled in terms of practice that for retail, you can go to the states. Once it's online, then federal government has some kind of exclusivity on it. Theoretically speaking, it makes sense, but practically speaking, it does not make sense. Because regardless of how you look at it, everybody is operating online. But yes, somehow, between the operators and the regulators, they have been able to maneuver this thin line. This case is before the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and we hope that there will be a judgment that puts clarity into this whole confusion. But for now, that exists. But somehow, in terms of practice, operators have been able to navigate this fine line.
Okay, I'm looking forward to the outcome of this petition that has been filed at the court. A petition, speaking of petition was filed to the NLRC to investigate why winnings of over 186 million naira was never paid to the winners after placing bets. And as we said earlier, you have acted as an advisor to the NLRC. So under what circumstance would a company withhold winnings, in your opinion?
Well, so it depends. It could be one, the company is unable to pay. Secondly, it can be that there is a malfunction of the software. Thirdly, it also depends on what the exclusion clauses say about those winnings. Fourthly, it could be that the operator or the winner has kind of circumvented the security system of the operator. So there are several reasons why an operator can decide not to pay. But again, that has to be investigated on behalf of the player. First things first, for any operator to refuse to pay, they need to be able to justify why they are not able to make that payment. If it doesn't make sense, of course, if you know that there's some kind of circumvention of the software or any of the security systems, then maybe you have a case. Having said that, I think the final decision will come in terms of who the regulator is. Are you licensed under national lottery or are you licensed by the state governments? I think they will have the final say depending on what the circumstances is, and looking at the regulations that govern that particular state or that govern that licensed operator. So it's an open case. I think the context will determine how the judgment goes in terms of that situation.
Okay, so I don't know if you're aware. So we saw recently in the UK where the same thing happened, and this gentleman went to file a lawsuit, and the case was granted in his favor. It turned out that they made the company to pay him. Do you think there will be any sort of this, Nigerians will follow suit?
Yes, the truth of it is this, that we have been inundated by several people here as well for the lack of payment of their winnings. Again, it's not something we have pursued. We have really pursued because of it's not really our core area in terms of litigation and all of that. What we have tried to do is to see how we can resolve it amicably out of court. But of course, what the Bedford is a Bedford case, and what they said very clearly was that exclusion clauses need to be looked at with a fine comb, in the sense that you can't just have a blanket exclusion clause. The context and exactly what you're trying to exclude, needs to be dealt with in terms of the terms and conditions. So you cannot simply say it's a malfunction. What kind of malfunction are we talking about? Is it a server issue? Is it a service provider issue? Is it the games issue or what? So what they've simply said is that we need to look at that very critically. Obviously, it means that terms and conditions need to be drafted more intricately right now. But I think what's going to happen is that based on this precedent, we are going to see a whole new set of court cases of people challenging that status quo. So yes, it's created a precedent for us to follow. Nigeria is a common law country, so obviously what happens in UK has some kind of correlation with what happens in Nigeria. But we wait to see how Nigerian players who are aggrieved, how they intend to pursue their grievances.
Let's talk about compliance. Regulators often put the burden on operators to keep up with these constantly changing rules. We often see heavy fines being dished out whenever AML has not been adhered to here in Europe. Is the National Regulatory Commission in Nigeria as strict as what we see over here in Europe, for example? And what tips do you have for operators to keep up with these constantly changing rules?
So let's. So first of all, when it comes to AML, I think the primary body that's really responsible for that is EFCC, which has a unit called SiGMA. And SiGMA is basically an AML unit. It helps train directors, train staff with regards to compliance. In Nigeria, AML, anti-money laundering laws are very strictly enforced, especially at that level. And part of what they do when they're licensing companies is to ensure that they select a compliance officer. So there has to be a compliance officer, that's one. Secondly, some directors need to be part of the training process for them to understand that the liability of any kind of infringement of that is on them as well as the compliance officer. So the training process is adhered to very strictly. Now, in terms of fine, EFCC really is not really a company that will fine. It's more of a criminal case, So what you have in that situation is anybody who has not followed through decisively with those compliance requirements is most likely going to have to face the law, one way or the other. Some of their penalties is closing your accounts. They've done that. Sometimes it's closing your business to undertake much more intricate investigation. But in terms of fines as well, even the regulators are also expected to do that. But in terms of fine, we have not seen those kind of penalties that are mind-boggling. Suffice to say that most of the regulators take AML very seriously, but I think the bulk of the work is left with the SiGMA, and SiGMA really is the unit that handles that. And like I said, it's normally criminal, or they penalize or they close their businesses, and that's even far more reaching in terms of the burden of that enforcement.
I think since you said it's not as strict, I think maybe African market hasn't reached that stage where Europe has, reached so far. Because Europe seems to be a bit more advanced when it comes to the gaming industry, whereas in Africa they kind of consider it to be emerging, so it's up and coming. So perhaps that's the correlation to why.
There are many other countries who are just really working on the regulation now. Some are trying to even understand the importance of the industry, whether it's worthwhile even talking about, or they should simply just ban the industry. Then those who have moved forward are still trying to come up with something that speaks to the uniqueness of that environment. So I think the next 5, 6, 7 years, I think we're going to see regulators look at penalties as ways of actually enforcing their rules and regulations, especially with regards to AML. But for now, it's work in progress.
Okay, so we're going to switch it up a little bit. We want to get to know you a bit more. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and you're going to have to pick one that just comes on the top of your head, right? So would you rather win the lottery, or would you rather live twice as long?
Oh, at this age?
He's speechless.
Okay, I think I'd love to live twice.
Okay. Wow.
Because
so are you?
Most of my life has gone now, so I don't have much to do, much of my youth remains.
So you prefer to live longer? Okay. So are you a texter, or would you rather pick up the phone to call?
Oh, I'm an avid texter. I'm known for that.
Okay. Would you rather have many good friends or one very best friend?
Well, I mean, the idea of a best friend is good, but the more friends you have, the more network, the more experiences, the more you learn, and all of them have their own, they are for different purposes.
No, you have to pick one. You have to pick one.
Yeah, so many more friends, yeah.
Many more friends. Would you rather be gossiped about, or would you rather have no one talk about you at all?
Gossiping about me is an indicator that things are happening around me.
Exactly. I agree with you on that one. Would you rather eat rice or pounded yam, swallow, the food?
No, rice, of course. I think jollof rice is a universal dish right now. So we need to learn to celebrate it. So jollof rice any day, anytime.
That's a tough one for me, actually. But yeah, so jollof rice for you. So our last question is, your name is Yahaya. Are you originally from the northern part of Nigeria? I asked this because my previous classmate in Nigeria, in the northern part, his name was also Yahaya. And he was like one of the top smart student in my class. So are you from the north, and were you a smart kid growing up?
Okay, so from the northern part of Nigeria, that's one. From the Christian speaking part of northern Nigeria. And so my Yahaya is actually the Arabic version of John the Baptist. So yes, Yahaya, talking about smarts, I want to align with your former classmate.
Well, sounds good. Oh, before we go, I would love for you to show us the view. Show our viewers the view behind you there. I can see you're by the sea, so I would like us to see what, just show us, just tilt your, before you go.
So this
Bless
is it.
us with that view. Where is this? Is this, not Banana, is it Banana Island? What is it called?
This
area?
Victoria, this is the
Victoria
Lagos
Island.
Yeah, this is the Lagos Yacht Club.
Okay.
And across there is what they call Gogoro Island.
With the palm trees. Yeah, I like it.
This is a Monday afternoon and everybody is at work, but yeah.
At work. Well, thank you. It looks beautiful. I can't wait to come visit Victoria Island. Thank you so much for your time and insight, Mr. Maikori. And thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with us. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you soon in person one of these days.
Thank you very much, and have a great week ahead of you. And see you soon.
Thank you. That's it for this interview. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to sigma.world to keep up with the latest updates.